the high priest when Israel came out of Babylon. He was the high priest. This is who we are reading about here. Go ahead and read on.
And the Lord said unto Satan, the Lord rebuked thee, O Satan. Even the Lord that had chosen Jerusalem rebuked thee.
Go ahead.
Is not this a brand plucked out of the fire?
He said, isn't this a brand that's been plucked out of the fire? Go ahead and read on.
Now Joshua was clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angel.
Now he said Joshua was clothed with filthy garments. He stood before him. They ain't talking about this stuff here. You understand that? That means that he wasn't righteous yet. You understand what I'm saying? So now he was clothed with filthy garments and he stood before the angel. Go ahead and read on.
And he answered and spake unto those that stood before him.
Go ahead.
Saying, take away the filthy garments from him.
Now he said, take away them filthy garments from him. Go ahead and read on.
And unto him he said, behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass.
See what it says? I've caused your iniquity to pass away from you. You know, what causes the iniquity to pass away from you? It is the word of God. You know, by being obedient unto the word, that is what caused iniquity to pass away from you. Go ahead and read on.
And I will clothe thee with change of raiment.
And I'm going to give you a change of raiment. Go ahead and read on.
And I said, let them set a fair mitre upon his head. So they set a fair mitre upon his head.
Now, these are priest garments. That's what a mitre is. It is a priest garment. Go ahead and read on.
And clothed him with garments. And the angel of the Lord stood by.
Now, you know, when the Lord returned, you know, you're going to have two priesthoods that will be in operation. You will have a mortal priesthood, and you will have an immortal priesthood that will be in operation as well. And if this Joshua, he's going to be among the priests, he has to be immortal. You understand what I'm saying? Because he's dead, and when the Lord raised him up, he will be immortal. Go ahead and read on.
Verse 6.
Go ahead and read.
The angel of the Lord protested unto Joshua, saying.
Now, I just want you to understand what time we are dealing with here. The book going to make it very clear here, because this thing, he's going to take it all the way down to the coming of the Lord. Go ahead and read on.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts.
Go ahead.
If thou wilt walk in my ways, and if thou wilt keep my charge.
See what it said now? If you will walk in my way, and if you will keep my charge. Go ahead and read on.
Then thou shalt also judge my house.
He said, then, Joshua, you will judge my house. If you walk in my way and keep my charge, you're going to judge my house. Because the Lord's going to have kings and priests in his kingdom with him judging. You know, he told you that in Revelation, didn't he? Go ahead and read on. Go ahead.
And I will give thee places to walk among these that stand by.
Go ahead.
Hear now, O Joshua, the high priest,
Uh-huh.
thou and thy fellows that sit before thee.
Go ahead.
For they are men wondered at.
Uh-huh.
For behold, I will bring forth my servant, the branch.
Now, you know who the branch is, right? That is Jesus. So what time are we dealing with? We are dealing with when the Lord returned here. That is what time we are dealing with here. Go ahead and read on.
For behold, the stone that I have laid before Joshua,
Uh-huh.
upon one stone shall be 7 eyes.
Go ahead.
Behold, I will engrave the graving thereof, saith the Lord of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day.
Go ahead and read.
In that day, saith the Lord of hosts.
Now he said, in that day, in what day? In that 1,000 years, in that day, said the Lord of hosts. Go ahead and read on.
Shall you call every man his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree?
And at that day, every man going to sit under his own vine and under his own fig tree. So what time are we reading about it? We're reading about at the coming of the Lord. Now, let's go to Matthew chapter 22, and we'll pick it up at verse 1. Matthew 22 and verse 1. 22 and verse 1. Now that Joshua, he going to be in there, but I'm going to show you somebody that's not going to be in there. Because the Lord said, give him a change of raiment, he said, didn't he? Matthew chapter 22, start reading at verse 1. 22 and 1. 22 and 1. Okay, when you get it, go ahead and read.
And Jesus answered and spake unto them again by parables and said,
Go ahead.
the kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come.
So now, you know, it's like a man that's made a marriage for his son, and he done sent forth and bidded them to the wedding, but they would not come. Go ahead and read on.
Again he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come unto the marriage.
Go ahead.
But they made light of it.
See what it said? They made light. You know, everybody else had something to do. And, you know, this wasn't important enough. That other stuff that they had to do, that was more important. So, you know, everybody made light of it. Go ahead and read on.
And went their way.
And they all went their way. Go ahead and read.
One to his farm, another to his merchandise.
Go ahead.
And the remnant took his servants, treated them spitefully, and slew them.
Go ahead.
But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth. And he sent forth his armies, and destroyed those murderers, and burned up their city.
And this is when he sent Tyrus down there to destroy Jerusalem. But this thing carried all the way down to the coming of the Lord. Go ahead and read a little bit more.
Then saith he to his servants,
Uh-huh.
the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy.
He said, now the wedding is ready, but those that was bidden to the wedding, they are not worthy. Go ahead and read on.
Go ye therefore into the highways,
Uh-huh.
and as many as ye shall find, bid to the marriage.
Go ahead.
So those servants went out into the highways, and gathered together all as many as they found,
Uh-huh.
both bad and good.
Go ahead.
And the wedding was furnished with guests.
Go ahead.
And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment.
Now this guy, he done showed up for the wedding, and he ain't dressed properly. You understand what I'm saying? He's supposed to be dressed a certain way. You know how he's supposed to be dressed? In righteousness. You understand what I'm saying? But now he showed up. You know, he was one of them ones that, well, you know, I ain't got to keep no law. That's what your preacher tell you all the time, isn't it? So now you think you're going to show up at the wedding because that's the only way you can walk in righteousness is by being obedient to God's commandment. And you think you're going to show up at the wedding and you have not been obedient to God's commandment, you're going to fit this man right here. So now he say, you know, he found there a man that didn't have on a wedding garment because he was supposed to be showed up in white. White, which is the righteousness of the saints, didn't it? But he didn't show up in white. You understand? He listened to the preacher when he told him, you ain't got to keep the commandments. Go ahead and read on.
Verse 12.
Go ahead and read.
And he saith unto him, Friend, how camest thou in hither, not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless.
And he was, what are you going to say? When I sent out the invitation, I told you how to come dressed. So you ain't got no excuse. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying? Ain't like you didn't know. I said come dressed in white, which is the righteousness of the saints. And you done showed up not dressed right. You ain't got on no wedding garments. Now when I ask you why did you come in here, what you ain't nothing you can say. You can't lie your way out of it. All you can do then is hope for some mercy. So he was speechless. Go ahead, read on.
Then said the king to the servant,
Go ahead.
Bind him hand and foot,
Uh-huh.
and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
I don't have to tell you what that is doing. So if you're going to show up at the wedding, you better be dressed right. You understand what I'm saying? And that right means walking in God's commandments. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 6 now. And we'll pick it up at verse 10. Ephesians 6, and we'll begin at verse 10. 6 and 10. 6 and 10. Chapter 6, verse 10. You know, Paul is just warning the people here, you know, how to be ready. Really, how to be ready for this wedding. Let's start reading here at Ephesians 6. Pick it up at verse 10. Go ahead and read.
Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Go ahead.
Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil.
So now he's telling you to arm yourself. Put on all the armor of God, that you might be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. And he's going to tell you what this armor of God is that you need to have on. Go ahead and read on.
For we wrestle not against flesh and blood,
Uh-huh.
but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world,
Uh-huh.
against spiritual wickedness in high places.
Go ahead.
Wherefore take unto you the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day.
Uh-huh.
And having done all, to stand.
Go ahead.
Stand therefore having your loins girt about with truth.
And he said the first thing you got to have on, that's the truth. And you know what truth is? That is the word of God. Jesus prayed to the Father. He said, Father, sanctify them through thy truth. Thy word is truth. So first thing you got to have on, you got to have the word of God. I ain't talking about no tradition. I'm talking about the true word of God. You got to have that on. Go ahead and read on.
And having on the breastplate of righteousness.
And then you got to be walking in it. Go ahead and read on.
And your feet shod with the preparation of the gospel of peace.
Go ahead.
Above all, taking the shield of faith, wherewith you shall be able to quench all the fiery darts of the wicked.
Now, regardless of what it is you might be going through, you have to believe even unto the end. You understand that shield of faith. In other words, you got to believe whatever it is you might be going through, you still got to hold on to the word of God. You got to have this shield of faith that you might be able to deflect the darts of the wicked. Because the wicked going to come at you and they're going to try and convince you to turn away from the word of God. But nevertheless, you got to have up that shield of faith.